Hey everybody, welcome to the Confidence Nugget, where we get real about confidence. My name is Kristen, and as you can see, today I have two guests that I'm so excited about, Alex Walsh and Gretchen Walsh. They are sisters. They are on the U.S. national team for swimming, and they are Olympic hopefuls for 2020. So it's going to be a pretty exciting year. But they're also teenagers, and that's what I'm really excited about today, because I feel like the older we get, the easier it is to forget what being a teenager is like and how tough it gets sometimes. And I know there are a lot of teenagers out there that watch these videos, so I'm really excited for you guys to hear their perspective, not only on dealing with life as a teenager, but also being some of the best swimmers in the world. So to give you a little background on how we crossed paths, about 8 months ago, if you can believe it. 8 months ago, I got a call from Mama Walsh, Glennis Walsh, and she wanted to talk to me about what I do. And I remember when I was talking to her, I remember thinking, this woman gets it. Like, she understands how important confidence is. She has two daughters that are just super, super talented, but she knows there's a lot at stake in the next year in 2020. And she also knows that they can work their butts off in the pool, in the weight room, in dry land. They can work really hard physically, but if the confidence isn't there, they're going to miss out on their greatest potential. So I was so excited to start talking to them. It's been so awesome getting to know them. Yes, they are sisters, but they have pretty different personalities. I'm excited for you guys to get to know them better. So let's just get started. Alex, we'll start with you since you're the oldest. If you want to just introduce yourself, tell us how old you are, and just kind of give us the scoop, and especially talk about this summer because some exciting things happened.
I'm Alex Walsh. I'm 18 years old, and we both swim for Nashville Aquatic Club here in Nashville. And I started swimming around age 5, and then at age 8, I started racing and competing. And this past summer, I competed at the Pan American Games, and I won a gold medal in the 200 backstroke, 200 IM, and the 800 free relay. And that was a great experience. I had a great time, and it was really fun to be at the games in a country I'd never been to. So,
where was it?
In Peru. Lima, Peru.
Yes. All right, Gretchen.
Okay. I'm Gretchen Walsh. I'm 16 years old, and I also swim for Nashville Aquatic Club. I started swimming when I was around 4 years old for summer league, and from there just progressed to all year round swimming. And this past summer, I competed at the U.S. Nationals, and I made it to Junior Worlds, which took place in Budapest, Hungary. And at the Junior World Champs, I won the 100 freestyle, 50 freestyle, and the 4x1 mixed freestyle relay, 4x1 medley relay, 4x1 mixed medley relay, and 4x1 freestyle relay. So
lots of relays.
Yeah, lots of relays, but it was a really successful summer, and I'm really happy with it.
Where was that?
It was in Budapest, Hungary.
Yeah, so international travelers here. So as you can tell, a lot of success. And I want to know, you guys, you've been swimming for so long, was there a moment where it dawned on you like, hey, I'm really good at this sport? Like, was there, a meet or you broke a record, or was there just a moment where you realized I'm good at this thing? And secondly, if so, did it bring excitement? Did it bring pressure? Did it bring fear, or a mix of both? Talk to me about that.
Let's see. When I think the moment I realized that I could pursue the sport as a living possibly, or do it in college, and as I got older, I was 12 and I broke the 200 breaststroke nag at our state championship. And then I think a month later, I broke the 200 backstroke nag at our zones championship.
Now explain nag to those that don't understand swimming.
National age group record. So it's just for each age group, there are like records for the country as a whole, I guess. And I think after I broke those, my mom was like, she was like so proud of me, and she was like, this is really good. Like, she told me, she was like, this is amazing. Like, she's like, you should be so proud of yourself. And I like took that, and my coaches were so proud of me. My teammates were also proud of me. And I was just surprised with how fast I had swum. And I realized that maybe if I started to work really hard in practice, and I made this one of my number one commitments, then I could definitely keep excelling at it. And I think, so obviously I was very proud of myself, and I was like really excited, but in meets after that, I would put a little bit of pressure on myself to keep having the same results. And I think that's normal for everyone. But again, this is where confidence is so important, just because when you put pressure on yourself, you need to remind yourself that you've had like the physical work done and the mental work done to be where you are today.
Yeah, for sure. How about you?
For me, it was definitely when I was 13, and I got my first Olympic trials cut, and it was like a week before the Olympic trials themselves. So very last minute. But just being at that swim meet as a 13-year-old, I was the youngest one. And that whole experience just opened my eyes to my possibility, like my potential to go or be one of these people that are making the Olympics at this meet. But also just being there, it was very nerve-wracking. I mean, I know I was only there just to have fun because I didn't have a lot of stakes or goals for that meet because I already got my goal. But it definitely set the tone that now I'm going to be racing these women who are going to the Olympics and are on the national team. And it made me nervous and put pressure on me, but it also made me really excited for what I was going to do in the future, because I knew that if I was going to work hard at something, then this would be a good goal to have.
Yeah. So kind of a mix of, yay, yeah, I'm good, but also pressure comes with that.
Right.
You know, it's funny because just yesterday I was having a conversation with a national teamer who's ranked number 1 in the world in her event, and she said that it was really fun when she wasn't the best. It was really fun chasing, but once you're the best, it's not very fun being chased. Right. And it brings, a lot of pressure and some fears. So going into fears, because, there's never going to be a time that I don't want to talk openly about fears, because as I always say, everyone experiences fear, but everyone also thinks they're the only one experiencing fear. So I want to talk openly about fear, especially with such successful women, because a lot of times, when we're watching athletes on TV, we think, wow, they're so fearless, and that's not the case at all. So if you guys are willing to be honest, we've talked about it before. Talk to me about, you're standing behind the blocks, getting ready to race. FYI, to those who aren't swimmers, one of the scariest places on earth for a swimmer, feeling the pressure to perform. Talk to me a little bit about what's going through your mind and what you kind of struggle with.
Well, you asked me to ask this. That reminds me, when we first met Kristen, she asked us to write down the thoughts that would go through our head and label them as what-if statements. So definitely when my confidence was at its lowest and the pressure I would put on myself was at its highest, I would think to myself, like, what if I don't drop? What if I've sacrificed all of this for nothing? What if I just give up in the middle of my race? What if obviously everyone has the fear of what if they're like gonna die in the middle of the race or lose momentum and just like totally hit a wall on that last 50. What if someone does better than me that I've like had a rivalry with? What if someone younger like beats me or what if I felt like my reputation as a swimmer was on the line, and that can really just unsettle you before your race. They can fill you with negative energy when you're supposed to be excited to swim because it's a sport that you love, and it definitely it can take a toll on you and affect your race negatively.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, I also did those what if statements, but a really big fear for me is, what I wrote down was like, what if I'm out of my league? What if, even no matter how prepared I am for a meet, like, what if I didn't train enough? What if I didn't make enough sacrifices? And I just think all those fears, they distracted me from giving myself grace and knowing that I worked so hard to be where I am today. And if I'm just going to throw it out the window because I'm getting nervous and thinking about all these negative thoughts, then it wasn't worth it. Because if you don't have that mental training too, like all those thoughts come in and they distract you from what you're here to do.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we always talk about those, when you're in the pressure to perform moment, panic hits a little bit, and we are at our worst when we are in panic. We lose all perspective. We completely lose our truth. It doesn't matter how hard we've worked. We feel like we haven't done enough. So, as I always say, when those fears come, which I believe they're coming every time, like maybe in a meet that doesn't really matter, you're going to win. There isn't a lot of pressure to go fast, or you're swimming in an off event. Maybe there won't be a lot of fear, but in those pressure moments where you're swimming your event, you have a goal. There is, feeling that pressure to perform, especially knowing 2020 Olympic trials are coming up in a few months. I believe the fear is coming inevitably. So we need to know what those fears are, which was part of the exercise that they did. And they brilliantly and bravely said all those fears and doubts that they were having. And my belief is after you bring them into the light and you admit them and own them, really, you need to speak truth to it. Because again, in panic, we lose our truth. So kind of talk to me about how in the last few months you have been able to handle those fears that come.
Yeah, I definitely think by writing them down and acknowledging them, they lose a little bit of their power to consume you before your race. So just knowing that they're there, and like you said, they're going to pop up like every single time you get up before the block, no matter the caliber of the people you're racing, no matter where you are, no matter what event, they always happen. They always come into my mind for me. And I think that just, like putting the light on them kind of makes them them vulnerable, and you can kind of have your power over yourself. So definitely acknowledging them, and then to just kind of put them to the side. I do a lot of breathing exercises, and I have a routine before I get on the block. I have my stretching routine and how what clothes I wear and stuff, just making sure I can control the aspects of my life that I can't control, because there are some things you can, as long as you pay attention to the things that you can control, that you're doing all that you can. And just like you said, the confidence to you when you're thinking about it and you're not before a race. So you're not panicking and you're able to think about these thoughts more rationally, and you realize this is completely wrong. Obviously I've sacrificed so much. Obviously I've put in the work, and just reminding yourself that. And so that way, when you get on the block, when they come, you say, no, that's not right.
Yeah.
That's not
the truth.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And you talked about routine. I think that this is so important, and so many people have talked to me about it lately. I almost feel like when you make up a routine for yourself, it's almost like you're dropping breadcrumbs. And so in those times where you are just so afraid that you can't think straight, you can go back to those breadcrumbs. You know what I mean? You can go back and do what you've always done. Where I have worked with so many athletes that when the panic comes, they start doing things they've never done before. They start, not doing things they've always done. Where when you come up with a routine, no matter how fearful you are, you know what to do and feel confident in that.
Something to fall back on.
Yeah. I love that.
Well, for me, a big part about getting rid of my fears is, well, they always come before my race, obviously, but just like you've pretty much taught me this, to just remind myself of my truth. And I think one of my truths is definitely that I do belong. And so all the work I've put in here in this past season, or even if you're relating it to school or honestly anything, like you've done what you needed to do to get here. And these thoughts they're not what resemble you. Like, you know what you've done. And so if you remind yourself of all that, you'll start to think of that instead of those fears. And something I've been starting to do is keep a little confidence journal of my golden nuggets of the day. So I usually write them about practice. And so I write down something every day that I did well at practice, because a lot of the times we focus on what we do wrong or what we do bad. So just thinking about the good parts distracts you from your mistakes. And so in the long run, you'll look back at that and just be reminded of all these things that you've done well to get where you are today. But also, like Alex said, I have a few routines of my own, but one thing that I really love to do, and it's so simple, is just like right before I get on the block, just take the biggest, deepest breath ever and just let it all out. And that just really brings my mind to peace, because sure, there's a lot of adrenaline, but you don't want those negative thoughts going through your race right before you get on the block. Because one of my biggest fears, I didn't mention it earlier, but is false starting. And if I'm thinking about that, I'm probably going to false start.
Sure.
So that's a really big part of it for me. And I feel like a lot of people just tell you before your race, like, be confident, you got this. But like, you can't just flip a switch and be confident.
Right.
So just remembering to do those things and just reminding yourself of what you've done to get where you are today and being confident in that part of yourself is really important, rather than just saying, yeah, I'm really confident.
Yeah, sure.
Inside freaking out.
Yeah. Right. And I always say, like, you can sit there and say, I'm confident. But down deep, it's like, yeah, right. You have to actually, believe it. But I want to go back to the confidence journal real quick. Mm-hmm. I challenge a lot of my clients to start a confidence journal, just because, again, what she said, so often we're focused in on what we're not doing well in practice. Like, I've seen this, forever. They can do 99 things right in practice and one thing wrong, and they're walking out thinking about the one thing wrong. And it's like, how are you ever going to feel prepared when all you do is, focus on what you're doing wrong? So I challenge my clients to start thinking about, what did I do right? And then writing them down. Confidence journal isn't for everybody, but for some people, it really, really helps, because in those times when we're afraid and we start to lose our truth, to go back to that journal and be able to look and see all the hard work that you've put in, that is proof that you're prepared. Do you go back and look at it?
Yeah, I do. I definitely did this summer, just to remind myself, like, everything that I've done well in practice, because I needed that reminder going into it to be confident.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Did you want to add something?
I just remember her, like, when she first started it, and she finished like a threshold set and was like, oh, I didn't take any breaks, like, I'm gonna put that in my confidence journal. Like, it was like the smallest little things that, like, you need to remind yourself, even if it is like not skipping, or if it's just one thing. Like, I took X amount of kicks off this wall, or off one wall. Like, you start with just the smallest things, and you can make this into big things, and eventually be like, I did everything right today in practice. Like, that's what you're ultimately, I think, like, you're going to be able to do, because you can focus on it each little thing at a time.
Yeah.
I feel like it also enforces really good habits, because the more you start feeling good about yourself when you're doing things right, those things that you're doing right happen more frequently.
Yeah.
As for me, like, I used to often just say I was tired and give myself the permission to stop. But now that I've realized that I love it when I can go home and write in my confidence journal that today I didn't take any breaks during practice and I was focused the entire time. Like, writing that down makes me want to be able to write that down more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My heart is about to explode. That makes me so happy to hear all of that. So absolutely amazing. And let me say, I feel like I have to mention, because I asked them what is a truth that they need to be reminded of. And hers was, I do belong, like she said. And so, the bracelets, we now have an I do belong. Because I think that we all struggle with that. Imposter syndrome, for sure. I know even as a woman, and I'm the only woman in the room of a bunch of men, and feeling like I don't belong, that helps me. I do belong here. My voice needs to be heard. So, I belong at the top, and, my voice needs to be heard. So I love that truth. So, I spoke at the Lead Sports Summit, I guess about a month ago now. And when I'm there, I do like a big keynote for everybody, but then we also do breakouts. And in these breakouts, it's supposed to be a pretty small group so they can be a little more intimate. But of course, when young women, and let me say Lead Sports Summit is for 13 to 17-year-old girl swimmers. But when a young woman sees, a breakout about confidence, sign me up, right? Anything about confidence for a woman, we want to know more. So my small group was actually a pretty big group, but it was pretty intimate. And so I got to get asked a lot of questions about confidence from these teenagers. And one of the main things that kept popping up for them was comparing. How do I stop comparing? How do I stop comparing? And we've talked about this before. And so I don't really believe that stop comparing is realistic. I think we go there naturally as women. So what we need to do is just make sure that we are aware of where we are. And when we find ourselves comparing, go, wow, this is making me feel bad about ourselves, because that's what comparing does, right? And I need to start focusing in on me. I need to start focusing in on, my journey and what I'm doing. Now, I want to explain comparing really quick, because the best example I've ever used, for comparing is, because when I ask men if they compare, I get yeses and I get nos. I don't know if they do. Men, you can tell me. But I do know that women compare differently, because when we compare ourselves to another woman, it's as if that woman is taking something away from us. The example I like to use is, you're getting ready for a dance, or you're getting ready to go out to eat, or, just out with your friends, and you actually like shower and do your hair and your makeup, and you put on a cute outfit and you walk out like, oh, I'm kind of cute. I feel good. And then you get to where you're going and there is a drop dead gorgeous woman there. We now feel less pretty. Even though we look exactly the same way as we did when we left the house, we now feel less pretty. That woman has taken away our prettiness. She hasn't, but that's how we feel. And I know men are like, that doesn't even make sense. I know it doesn't make sense, but every woman in the world totally understands what I'm talking about. And I think this is why women don't get along all the time, because we get mad at them for taking something away from us that they really haven't even taken away. The chaotic world of a woman. But anyway, comparing can wreck us. It can really make us feel like we are not enough. And we've had this conversation. Talk to me a little bit about if you do, which of course you do, and just kind of talk me through that a little bit.
Yeah, I think comparing myself to others is a problem that I faced a lot. Definitely less now, but I still struggle with it. Sure. And I used to struggle with it a lot more. But, you can compare yourself to people that are around your age, around your caliber, and then, but also like as as I began to move up in the ranks of meets and start racing people with higher world rankings and just people that were faster than me and older than me and stronger than me, I would like stand next to them and just feel like I really had no chance. And like, I think like, and that was like one of my fears. It's like, what if the person next to me is just like gonna be so much better than me? And like, it takes a toll on you. But I think the most important for me to understand was just reminding myself of my truth. And like, cause it can make you scared. It can make you feel less worthy than you already are. But also making like prioritizing yourself just helps a lot. Like telling yourself, this is my race. This is my little lane. Like, I don't need to think of anyone else besides me. I'm going to race this person. If they beat me, so be it. If I beat them, like, great. But at the end of the day, like, I come back to this a lot just because I think it's really changed me, like controlling the things you can control. Yes. You can't control other people. You can only control yourself. And like, that's been a philosophy that I've been trying to follow recently in the past 8 months. And I think it's helped in all aspects of my life. Just like, oh, this happened. Okay. It's not what I wanted to happen, but I'm just you can't change it. You just have to go with it. And just reminding yourself that this is your game and this is your life. And you need to remember like that you are an individual person and not like someone who should feel less than others. So
I love it. Good stuff.
I also have really struggled with comparison all the time, not just through swimming, also school and looking pretty, I guess.
Sure.
Good example. But a lot of what I like to do is just like Alex, just remind myself that I have no control over how this person swims, how they do in school. Like, it's completely out of my control, and all I can do is try my best and see my results. And I mean, after whatever happens, but it's really just, if you want to be the best you can be, you're thinking of the other person's potential isn't going to help your own.
Good stuff.
So yeah, I also really struggle with that, with just, one of my truths is I do belong. And, that originated a lot from me comparing myself to the girls making the Olympics. Sure. And, just having to race them, and comparing yourself to someone who has had that much success in their life is a really big toll on yourself, because
sure.
Especially 8 months ago, like I wasn't where I am in the sport today. Like, I'm always progressing in what I'm doing. So it was a lot to deal with, but just knowing that all I can focus on is myself and my work and how I'm going to swim is going to benefit me, rather than thinking, oh, I wonder how this person's going to do and if they're going to do better than me.
Yeah, I love that. And I think a really good example actually is from you, because I remember you went to a meet, it was in the beginning of the year, I believe, and you did well. Mm-hmm. And then the next week, a rival went to a meet and did really well. And so I think we talked the next week, and you had told me how the other person did. And I said, well, tell me about your meet. And as you went through the days and your events and your times, you actually said to me, wow, I'm really glad that I went through that again, because I had forgotten about how good I did, because that girl had taken your good swims away. Even though she hadn't, that's kind of how you felt. So even just reminding yourself of what you've done is huge.
Yeah.
I love that. So we can go ahead and lead all this comparing into sibling rivalry, right? I mean, I'm going to take advantage while I have sisters here, because I've run into it so often, people, talking about it, because it happens, regardless if you're even in sports, regardless if you're in the same sport. I mean, I'm 45 years old and my parents talk about my brother's success, and I'm so happy for him and I love him and I'm so proud of him, but there's still that kind of like, just that like ugly, dig in my stomach. I don't even know how to explain it. You just have this rivalry with your sibling, even though, like I said, you're happy for them and you're proud of them. we have talked about that, individually, and kind of talk to me about that, because it has to be a reality because you guys are in the same sport.
Yeah. I think it's definitely, the rivalry has increased over the years just because, like, we're both rising to a level of swimming where the number of people who are able to, like, go pro and make the Olympics and do all these things is slim. So, like, and we're both, like, right on the cusp of doing great things. And so we're both, like, fighting for it. And even though the good thing is that we swim different events, so yes, that's the beauty in all of this. But even when we're at practice and we're racing each other and like one of us will be beating the other one, and then in the car ride home, we're like, hey you. And that can be an issue at times. But I think, obviously, I'm, like, so happy for Gretchen.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of her because I know how hard she does work. And I think, like, when I do feel frustrated that there's, like, tension between us because we both want to, like, go to the Olympics and we both want to do great things. I just have to remind myself, like, again, like, kind of going back to the comparison, like, I can't control what she does at the end of the day. Like, I can only control myself. Yeah. So, like, I need to, like, bring myself back to that and then just, like, relish the fact that, like, she's my sister, and when this is all, like, said and done, I'm not really going to remember, like, if what all these meets I go to, like, what times I went, like, what I finished with. I'm going to remember, like, the journey of getting to these places that I've been to and the friends that I've made, and obviously, like, how that strengthened my relationship with my sister. And so I think, like, I need to value that over anything else.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. I definitely think, like Alex said, like, the rivalry has increased. Luckily, we aren't swimming the same events. So, I feel like that was really lucky of our part because if we were, it would be a lot worse. Not that it's a bad thing, because I think we do really push each other and practice a lot. Sure. But I think the bad part of it is when the rivalry moves its way out of just swimming and it just becomes like a tension between both of us. And I think we're kind of special because we don't always let that get to ourselves. Like, we acknowledge that it's there and then we'll try to fix it. But I think when I'm comparing myself to Alex's success, I know that we both deserve the best. And so no matter how bad I want to be Alex, or, like, say she was swimming my event, like, I would still be proud of her if she won it over me. But it is with that comparison thing where if Alex made the Olympics and I didn't, it would take away, like, even if I had an awesome swim at the trials, like, it would take away my swim a little bit. Sure. But I would just have to get over that and realize, like, she didn't have any partaking in how I did. Like, that was me. And she did her thing. So I think it's just negotiating that in your head and realizing you love this person, you're going to love them nonetheless. And no matter what happens in the pool, it shouldn't be taken outside of that. And you guys are still going to be sisters at the end of the day.
Sure. I love that. I think it's important to know that it's normal. Yeah. It's totally normal. And it's you're allowed to have that feeling, but pulling yourself back into perspective and realizing this is my sister and I love her. I mean, that's what it's all about. Right. So to close, I kind of want to take advantage of them being teenagers. So I always like to close the show with my guests leaving a little nugget of wisdom, that can help you guys with confidence. So thinking of your life as a teenager, because you have swimming, you have school, you have a social life. I mean, there's so many facets to it. Social media, like all this different stuff. Let's just close with, how do you keep balance in such a crazy world?
Yeah. Time management is so big in our lives. Like you said, we have school and we both take honors classes, and that's just hard, and it can be mentally and physically draining after a school day. But then you have to go to swim practice, and when you're competing at the level that me and Gretchen are competing, like, our coaches expect us to give 110% every single day. And so it's not like when we get to the pool, we can say, I'm not feeling this. It's like, okay, I don't feel good, but like, he doesn't really care if I'm feeling good or not. So like, and that can be like dread, at least for me. Like, I can dread that a little bit, like all day. I'm like, oh, I gotta go swim practice after this, like, sure. And like work. And then we have homework. And like you said, like on the weekends, like we want to spend time with our friends, but like, I'm going to college soon. I want to spend time with my family as well. It's crazy, but I think prioritizing yes. what you want to do with your life is huge. And for me, that is my school, my swimming, and then my family and friends. But more than that, like, I would say swimming is like a huge priority, but then also like my family at the end of the day. And just making sure that you're giving equal amounts of effort, and just like getting rid of the stuff, like toxic relationships, toxic, like, I don't know, like a class or something, like toxic work. I don't know, anything that's like bringing you down and not letting you pursue your priorities is something that you need to get rid of. And that's something I've definitely learned how to do, is just making sure that everything that's going on in my life right now is like stuff that's helping me and stuff that's making me happy. So,
good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, like she said, time management. If I was going to give anyone a nugget, I'd say take advantage of the time management skills that swimming gives you, because I know a lot of people that aren't athletes, and they seem to find a way to have a harder time with a class than I do, despite having a lot more time than I do. So using that time management in order to balance your life, I think, is really important. And also knowing that it's okay to sacrifice some things for something you're really passionate about, because I feel like in everyone's bio, it's like, I have swim. And that's a relatable thing for everyone. But I think also, like, if you really value your friends, then you can definitely make time for that, but also be willing to just tell your friends or make something work for yourself. Like having a Saturday night, because most people don't have Sunday practice. So, hanging out with them then, just making time for it, but not at the expense of something you really care about and have a lot of potential in. Because I know, like, college swimming is one of the most fun experiences. And so if you want to achieve that, then you're going to have to put in some work for it, and it's going to take sacrifices, but you will get there and your friends will support you if they're
the real friends.
If they're real friends,
yes.
Right.
Yeah. Good stuff. The wisdom from them is awesome. So, please add.
And also, don't be afraid to ask for help from like your teachers, your parents, your friends, or your coaches, like letting them know the situation that you're in, and just like letting them, like, make them aware of that, and so that they can understand where you're coming from. And like for me, definitely my teachers have been so supportive with me missing school for meets or me like not being able to do my homework at night because I have swim, and then like after I would just crash or something. And like when you have so much going on in your life, it's not just like it's not a one-man show. Like you have a support system, and you need to take advantage of that and use that to help yourself, like, just balance everything out.
Love it. Yeah. More wisdom. Well, thank you guys so much for being a part of this. I'm so excited for you guys, and I'm so proud of you guys. I mean, you're just absolutely amazing. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, for sure.
On the show.
And thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.